welcome back to Hearing Impact. My name is Kusandi Hileos. I'm your host, and today we're going to talk about Bombay. Now, there was a film back in 2014, and that's this episode inspired by it. It was this epic romantic historical film about the disaster that happened in Bombay, an Italian ancient city that doesn't exist anymore because the volcano of Vesuvius disappeared from the map. Because of the eruption of the mount on of the volcano, it destroyed the whole city. And well, this event was the inspiration for Bombay, the film in 2014, which didn't get a lot of good reviews. Actually, most of them were bad. But that film and this disaster inspired for today's episode about Bombay. Now, I'm not sure how much you know about it, but Bombay is in Italy, as also Mount Vesuvius is. And about 2,000 years ago, this huge disaster happened, which is really explained like in a really historical novelty way in National Geographic, where I'm gonna read you what actually happened that specific day that destroyed Bombay. It was August 79 AD, the summer there. And what happened is that the Vesuvius erupted, and it broke smoke and toxic gas to the air of the area there, which close by was Bombay, the city. That this smoke and gas spread over it. So overnight, Bombay and about 10,000 residents vanished under a thick blanket of ash, very violently happening all this. So imagine eruptions, toxic gases, fire everywhere, ash, just very violently happening all this. Earthquakes also. I mean, it was really scary occurrence back then. So what happened is in the morning, everything was, another day pumping with the shoppers, being in the market, choosing your fish and your meat of the day, shopping, everything. And suddenly people are screaming because of the volcano that erupted there. And at the end of the day, and actually the end of the next day, 25th of August, the whole city was lost and forgotten for a long time until 1748, thanks to excavation of scientists. They found out the lost city, that excavation that are still happening to this day to find out, because the city is really big area, about over 400 square meters. It's a huge area. And after the volcano first erupted about noon, this ash turned everything black. The people, you couldn't see the sun. Some lucky residents escaped the city, they could do that. But people that stayed behind and took shelters in their homes, they were lost because they were buried under that ash. And this ash block not only these people, but they block doorways where you can escape. The caving, the roofs, they fall down to the people. And if you've ever been there, you'll see still, the people that were covered in ash, so some of the figures are still in the city. Now they are excavated by them, and you can see in them how frightened they were from how their body is. They are covering their heads. Some people hold their loved ones, their children, their maybe lover, their kids, and they're hanging. They were buried with their pets, their horses, their dog. One dog, they excavated one dog. And about midnight that day, this hot cloud of ash, rock, and toxic gas rushed down the volcanoes. So that's how the real violence began. And it traveled about 100 miles an hour, so it's very fast and destroy everything in its path. So the next morning, after the Niti eruption, they cover everything with this ash that is still until now part of Pompeii covered. And that's how we lost the city. That it was, a real important thing back in Italy. They had olive oil and wine. They exported back then in the Mediterranean. So it was really prospect, the city of Pompeii back then. So if you go back to visit Pompeii in the ruins, you will see how violent the nature can be. You can see now the buildings, the artwork that it was preserved because of that ash. Of course, you can see also the bodies that they decompose, but they were stained as bodies because of the ash again. And with the scientists still are working to fill the gaps, to find all the details, how the life was, how this Roman city, how people were living back then. It's very interesting to see how people reacted. And this was not back then. There was no internet. We had only each other to talk, to exchange ideas. And if you see the city is really huge by the illustrations they have done. And when you see there were streets, there were paved streets, stepping stone, sidewalks for the pedestrian to walk in, so they don't get dirty from the mud. It was civil society back then. The people then soak in public baths, as many Roman cities back then they were doing. They have gladiators, of course, like in Rome, of course. They had races and amphitheaters, enjoying plays in the two theaters there were back then. So this, life in Pompeii can only teach us that everything can change, and in a few hours our life, how we know it, can really change. And in any minute, now Pompeii was lost, but there were other cities next to it that were created. But the mountain is still there. The Vesuvius is still there, and can explode once again. So now, of course, we have science and scientists that can alarm people to escape without being hurt. But back then, people didn't have that luxury. It's another example, I guess, about science and how it can save us, how it can provide us safety, how much important it is in our life, in our history, when we didn't know back then so much as we know now. So this is what happened in that dreadful day in Pompeii. That, you know, life changed and things just had a very different turn of event. Everything was peaceful, and by the end of the second day, everything changed. Everything were buried under the ash of the mountain Vesuvius because of the eruption. So this is another episode of Hair Impact. Thank you for being with me and learn all about Pompeii. And I'll see you next time with another episode. Cheers.